Electric vehicles are revolutionizing the global ecosystem. At WION, we are hosting Season 3 of Mission Sustainability 2025. We have invited esteemed panelist Vikas Mishra, who is the founder and CEO of Moving, a leading platform accelerating zero-emission logistics in India. Akash Gupta, the co-founder and CEO of Zip Electric, India's first dockless electric scooter sharing app, and Chandra Bhushan, who is a researcher, writer and campaigner for environmentally sound and socially inclusive development, to discuss the critical role of electrification in building a sustainable future. We leave this for the next bulletin. Keep watching WION World is One.
Is a driver to switch to EVs, and what are the hesitations that they still have with the adoption?
Yeah. Now, for the economy side of things, of course, operating electric vehicle is always a cheaper option than operating an ICE vehicle. But what from a driver point of view, it's important that what we have observed, that any driver who switches to EV never wants to go back to ICE. And when I have interviewed a lot of drivers and I asked this question, that what made you change to EV and you don't want to go back to ICE? While this air pollution, at least in Delhi NCR, is a real concern, and everyone wants to contribute to solve the problem, and same feeling is also with the drivers. But their economical status is that they want to earn more money. Every kilometer that you run, a three-wheeler, let's say for example, you save about 4 rupees per kilometer. So a driver who runs about 2,000 kilometers in a month would be able to save 8,000 rupees of the fuel cost. And that helps the increase in terms of their monthly income. And that is one of the factors where drivers want to switch to EV. That's number one. Number two, while it's a quality problem, the air quality problem of the city, it's also what driver is exposed to when he's driving, he or she is driving the car in the 10, 12 hours per day. He's exposed to the heat from the engine. He's exposed to the noise that's coming from the vehicle. So when they switch to EV, the whole noise pollution and also in terms of the heat that comes from that thing, the driver feels much more comfortable in terms of driving an EV. And the third, every EV is automatic vehicle, so your one leg and one hand is not engaged. So you feel that driving is a much easier EV. So I will say that the three things, the cost, the carbon emissions, and the quality of life of driving electric vehicle is much better compared to the ICE vehicle. And that's the reason of the switch that's happening towards EV.
Right, and despite that, we're seeing that the major switch is happening in two-wheelers and three-wheeler segments. And given the latest current trends also, the adoption segment suggests that affordable EVs, especially two and three-wheelers, are going to, drive India's electrification efforts. Now, Mr. Bhushan, from your lens, what is India getting right here in this segment, and why are we not able to scale it to cars at the same pace?
Thank you very much. First of all, I think it is important to look 10, 20 years in the future where EV is placed in our economy. See, the future of mobility is going to be public, shared, and electric. The three words I have used is public. It means it has to be public transport. Shared, we all will share our vehicles. And it will run on electricity. That's, I can clearly see 10 years down the line by 2035. We all will talk about public, shared, and electric. The EV that we are seeing right now is private mobility. And in three-wheelers, of course, public, in goods vehicle. But it is important to understand that EV will be the cheapest mode of transportation humans have ever invented. Now, from horse cart to steam engine to internal combustion engine, EV will be the cheapest and therefore the most affordable, which means that all of us will have ability to buy a car or a two-wheeler. Now think about a city like Delhi, where actually the car ownership is less than 20. And I think the two-wheeler ownership, if you put together, the ownership is about 50%. In the US, for every 1,000 people, there are 1,100 cars, vehicle. Is that the future you are looking at as far as mobility is concerned? Think about congestion, the infrastructure, the parking. So the ecological cost of a vehicle is not only what is coming out of the tailpipe. The ecological cost of a vehicle is also the amount of land you are going to give it to build infrastructure to run that vehicle. Now, and therefore, from that perspective, I have two young friends who are entrepreneurs in EV segment. The future, as far as sustainability is concerned, and I'm reiterating it, it is public, shared, and electric. And therefore, that's where the business will be. If it will not happen autonomously, then maybe regulation will come to stop number of vehicles. Because, as I said, EVs are going to be the cheapest ever invention on mobility that humans have made, even cheaper than the horse.
The electric scooters are visible in Delhi, and yes, the quick commerce, the food delivery, which is growing at a rapid pace. See, what we picked is the biggest problem and the easiest solution, frankly. As a business owner, 8 years back, when we were trying to solve with an impact solution that, hey, we want to solve for the problem while creating a business and while creating an impact, then we looked at cars, we looked at trucks, we looked at buses, we looked at two-wheelers, we looked at three-wheelers. We saw that where is the price parity? And I think Bhushan, Chandra, also you asked a similar question, that why are cars not picking up so much versus two-wheelers and three-wheelers? It is actually the right price point, because see, nobody is buying an electric vehicle. I would say very few percentage of the people would be buying for sustainability today, right? Let's understand that very clearly, that people are buying electric vehicles only if it makes sense for their pocket, right? It has to be affordable at the end of the day. There'll be very few niche customers or players who would want to buy it for their private use at a higher cost. Why? Because a car today, which is electric versus a fuel, the same type, costs about 30%, 40% extra, and people feel that, hey, I'm paying for the fuel upfront. It's better that I pay, you know, and that is because of the economics and the scale that is still not there in India. So I think that's where regulation has to play a very strong role. China had taken this strong measure. 2013, Beijing was almost having a similar AQI like ours, 400, 500. It was the worst polluted city. Chinese cities were in the top 10. Today, none of the Chinese cities are even in top 20. What they did, what was the magic wand that they weave so that they are out and their AQIs are so low? It's just because they put a concerted effort towards getting electric vehicles on the road, solving the problem of dust. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that I'm sure your event would have talked about it, because that's about 35-40% contribution to pollution. Vehicles are about 25%, which is what we are attacking. Now, why we pick two-wheelers? Because one, the cost parity is very similar. If you buy a Splendor, which is a petrol vehicle, versus an electric scooter, it's almost a similar cost of buying, right? So unit economics makes sense, but the cost of running is 30%, 40% cheaper.